So in this class, one of the reasons that we do logarithms, the properties of logarithms, is because ultimately we're going to be solving equations that have logarithms in them, right? And this one I shouldn't see any headphones or cell phones. Completely out. Headphones. Thank you. Take them out. All right. So if we look at this problem, we're going to be expanding these logarithms. These are a little bit more complicated than what we did yesterday because when we're in the process of solving an equation, they're not going to look all neat and tidy like we had them yesterday. They're going to look a little bit more complicated like this. So if you needed to expand this logarithm, how many times are you going to write the word log? 2, yeah, we've got 2 groups. We've got this group and this group. So we're going to say log base 8 of 2x plus 3, and then what are we going to put before the next one? Plus. Yep, it's multiplied. So plus log base 8 of x minus 5. How about when we look at a problem like 12? How many times are we going to write log for that one? 3. Yeah, 3. You could do 4 if you wanted the x squared to be an x and another x. It would be possible to do it as 4. But the way it's broken up, it looks pretty good to do it as 3. So we're going to say, what do we write first?
2.
Yeah. So 2 ln Yep. So it looks more complicated, but the properties are still the same. Right. For number 14, I was going to do one like this on the warm-up, but I forgot. Anytime you have a square root, you just want to rewrite it as something to an exponent instead of a square root. Does anyone remember what exponent that is? Yeah. It's 1/2, yeah. The square root is something to the 1/2 power. A third root is something to the 1/3. The fourth root is something to the 1/4. Fifth root is something to the 1/5. So that's how those exponents work. So in this case, we can see it's only one group, so we only have to write the word log once. But having the exponent on the group is not considered the expanded form. When we have an exponent in the expanded form, we always have to take that exponent and move it to the front. So the only thing you have to do to this problem is take that 1/2 and put it in the front like that. So 1/2 log base 8 of 5x plus 3. You'll see that sometimes when people write these problems, they'll actually write it as log base 8 of 5x plus 3, all divided by 2. Yeah, you'll sometimes see it written that way. But it's the same thing. So either way you write it is totally fine by me. Okay. So for right now, I just want you guys to work on 9 through 16. Just expanding those out. Writing log however many times you need to write it, making sure that we're doing plus for multiply, minus for divide, the exponents are moving to the front. So this side of the page is the one that makes a little bit more sense for us because when you are condensing logs, you're typically going to do it in the context of trying to solve an equation. And when you solve an equation, you want to make the problem more simple. You want to condense it. You don't want to make it more complex and expand it. So we are typically going to condense a log so that we can solve an equation, and we're making it more simple so that our life is easier. So if you look at this one, let's go ahead and do the first one. We have log base 5, and it's written twice, but when we condense it, we can only write it once. And then what should we say next? We're dividing it because it's a minus problem. Divide by x. And then if this ends up being a problem that you could divide, or if it ends up being a problem that you could multiply, then you should do so. Because we're trying to prepare this for solving an equation, we're having the most simplest form is the best. So if you look at this, this actually might remind you of last unit where we did some factoring and canceling when we dealt with rational expressions. So we want to factor the top. How do we factor the top? Yeah, you can take out an x, and what do you have left over? X minus 2. And then we have an x on the bottom. Cancel those. Okay, so this would simplify to log base 5 of x minus 2, and since that's a group, I put it in parentheses.
So which one is the right?
They're both right. If you were in the process, if all they wanted you to do was condense the expression and then you're completely done with the problem, and they don't say, like, put your answer in the most simple form, then you could probably get away with doing it with each answer. But if you're in the context of, like, you're trying to solve an equation, then you'd want to take it all the way simplified because it will help you later on. Or if the instructions say condense the expression and simplify completely, or something like that, because this would not be considered simplified. All right, let's look at, is there any problem on there that you, when you look at it, you don't like the way it looks?
24.
24?
Yeah.
We don't like 24. All right. Yeah, what do we not like about 24? Is it the 3 and the 2?
There's so many numbers.
Just lots of things going on. Okay, so what do we do with the 3? It's the exponent to the 2. So the 2 actually has a 2 to the 3rd. So we have log base 5 written twice. We only get to write it once. And what is it that we are taking the log of? 2 to the 3rd.
Over x minus 4. Plus 4.
X plus 4. And we can simplify it a little bit because we do know what 2 to the 3rd is. Yeah.
8.
It's 8. No, it's not 6. No, it's not bad. Alright, do we need to do another one or do you feel... Don't read all the problems.
How about 21?
You could do 21? Okay. So, we got log base 3 written twice. How much can we write it? Once. And what are we doing? Multiplying. So what are the two things we are multiplying together?
8x. 4x.
4x. And is it possible to simplify that?
No.
Are you sure?
I mean, it has
So yeah, we wouldn't factor, but we could multiply. What do we get when we multiply those? 32x to the 3rd, that's a 2. 32x to the 3rd.
I was thinking like terms.
Yeah. The parentheses, in a group like this, absolutely yes. In something like this, sometimes people put the parentheses, sometimes people don't. The reason you would put the parentheses is to show that the log applies to the 32 and it applies to the x to the 3rd. Because it's possible that log base 3 of 32 happens to be like the number that comes in front of the x. And so the way that you show, no, that's not the number that comes in front of the x to the 3rd, the x to the 3rd is like part of it. The way you show that is by putting it in parentheses. But you'll see it both ways, like sometimes people don't put the parentheses. Yeah, for the unsimplified one, I definitely say the parentheses are good because you don't want someone to think that you're doing log base 3 of 8x squared and then taking that answer, whatever it is, and multiplying it by 4x. You want it to be clear that the log base 3 applies to all of this stuff, that all that stuff belongs to the log. Yeah. So when you guys look at this section, it's not going to feel much different than the section above. There's just an equal sign in there. So all the directions are asking you to do is rewrite the left side so it only has one log, and rewrite the right side so it only has one log, and that's it. That's all they want you to do. So if you look at number 27, I can see that the right side doesn't have any logs at all, so the right side is good. The left side has 2 logs, so I want to condense it down to 1. So log base 8 of equals 1, and then this one's done. That equation is ready to go for us to learn how to solve it in a little bit.
Can you not cancel out the x's?
You can't, remember, because this one has like parentheses around it,
Yeah.
and those are factors that don't cancel. Yeah. So what would we do for 28? We get to write log base 3 one time. Yeah, we've got a 2 and a negative 4x. What are we doing with the 2 and the negative 4x?
Don't you put the
We're multiplying them because it's a plus. So when we multiply them, what do we get? Yeah, the minus, when you do negative things, they kind of throw you off a little bit. So 2 times negative 4x is negative 8x. So it's log base 3 of negative 8x equals log base 3 of 53. And that's it. We're not actually solving it. We're just getting it there. 1 log on each side. Okay.
Hi.
What's up?
Do you have another one of those worksheets?
Yeah.